There's a lot to talk about with this program. Before we hop on with Penny Hardaway, let's set up what this offseason has been like. There's been a lot of additions, Mike, both player-wise and coach-wise. Break it down for us.
#1 recruiting class in the nation. That's a huge deal for Memphis. The fan base knows that. The administration knows that. And we're just looking on paper, and there's a lot of talent. It's not just a lot of talent. They have 2 potential lottery picks coming in as freshmen, and Amani Bates, who a lot of people tabbed as the next great NBA talent. I had a chance to call a few games from Jalen Duren's season at Montverde. He is really special, an absolute beast down low, almost unstoppable if you give him anywhere inside of 5 feet around the rim. He's a pick-and-roll master. Jonathan Lawson, John Camden, Josh Minot, Tadarius Jacobs, and Sam Onu. All these guys coming in are going to compete for playing time. But Amani Bates and Jalen Duren, they don't just give you an opportunity to win the American tournament. They're not just an NCAA tournament team. This is enough talent to go to the Final Four.
Here's what's interesting. They reclassified to come in for this year.
Right.
And this is talent that we are used to seeing go straight to the G League. Brooke, how has NIL changed college basketball, and these 2 guys being the perfect example?
You know, without the NIL, you have the power of branding from the school. With the G League, you have the power of money. Now with NIL being at Memphis, you can have both. And I think it's a great pairing to have. And, Mike, you made a point earlier today. You said when Penny Hardaway walks in a gym, the energy shifts. Yeah. And I was at the Peach Jam this summer with the Nike Nationals, which is, one of the largest high school girls and boys national tournaments. When Penny walked in the gym, literally everybody was like, you literally felt the energy change in the gym. And having him as the head coach, being able to probably help those endorsements and those big brand deals, as a player, who wouldn't want to go to Memphis right now? He's the next wave.
Well, Penny's joining us now. Coach Hardaway, thanks so much for joining us. There's so much to talk to about the additions to this team, but we have to start first with last night. You roll up yesterday in the Batmobile. First of all, where do you get this thing, and where is it right now?
No, that's my own personal slingshot. Had some buddies to buy a slingshot, and I got on board with buying one myself and doctored it up. And when I doctored it up in blue and black, I said, you know what, I need to drive this on the court for Memphis Madness. And that was just something that I just said initially to my friends, and it came into play. And we did it last night, and it's at my house.
That is a mic drop. That is not a rental.
Yeah.
That is yours, Coach. Can you bring me to the energy that you felt in that building yesterday?
Yeah, no, it was amazing energy because no one thought that I was going to do that. Every year I've tried to do something different and more spectacular with my part of being announced. The first year, the song Hardaway, the actual rapper that sung that song, I brought him in and he walked me out like a boxer. And everybody was shocked while he was singing that song. The second, 2 years ago, I had the saying, "We want all the smoke." And I was at the very top of the building when they announced me with smoke coming out everywhere with a shirt on that said, "We want all the smoke." And then obviously yesterday was the icing on the cake with the slingshot.
Coach Mike O'Donnell in studio here. You're really putting my 2016 pre-owned Ford Explorer to shame with the slingshot there. But I am curious, when we look on paper, the national media and fans look on paper and you see the #1 recruiting class in the country, you can look up the talent and on YouTube, you can see the highlights, watch film and all that stuff. But what's the recruiting pitch for you when you're in home with mom or dad or family member of the recruit to come play at Memphis? What is that pitch?
NBA. It's strictly, obviously we build relationships and we talk about more than basketball. But the main thing that these kids want is they want to be able to be prepared to go to the NBA. And when you go out and get a staff with Coach Larry Brown, we already had Cody Topper, who was in the NBA. But then you add Rasheed Wallace and Coach Larry Brown. That actually adds a different element than ever before. Because now you can see you have a coach that's a Hall of Fame coach that's coached 9 different NBA teams. And Rasheed Wallace is a champion in the NBA and one of the best players at his position. Then you add that with myself and Cody, and it becomes more appealing. So we're talking about the NBA side and the development and the teaching and the film sessions, you get into relationships and talking about things off the court. So they get to know who I am. in depth, and I get to know who they are. But the main thing is the NBA.
Coach Penny, Brooke Weisbrod, you know, one element that is always present when you played and now with your teams is a feeling of competitiveness. You said Imani Bates is one of the fiercest competitors you've ever coached. Why do you feel that way?
Well, he has a lot to prove. I mean, the kid has been in the spotlight since he was 12, I think, and there's always been a spotlight on him. And I think he feels the pressure to be able to produce every single time. And what that has done to him personally has driven him. He's been in the gym for the last 5 years, almost 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, just to make sure that he's crisp and he has his game at a level to where if he gets out on the court that he can produce and be the guy that everybody is saying that he is. And that's a lot of pressure. So to me, he got that work ethic from wanting to be the best, being labeled the best, and keeping it there so that when he competes against other kids his age or a little older, that he's able to compete and be the guy that he needs to be. So I think all of that and what God gave him in his heart as far as his competitive nature combined with his work ethic is pretty special.
Coach, we have some questions via Zoom from the media members. I'll let Tom put the first one in your direction.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Our first question will come from Teresa Walker with the Associated Press.
Penny, this is your second #1 recruiting class. What have you maybe learned? You know, granted there were different challenges the last time around with James, but what have you maybe learned that puts you in better position to handle this class and to get the maximum possible out of this group this year?
Well, I think the biggest thing is no matter how much you think you can win young with all young guys, it's very, very difficult. And I knew that year. If we would have had James, would things have been differently? Yes, I'm sure they would be, but it still would have been very tough. What I've learned this time is to mix the veterans with the young guys. You have the #1 recruiting class, but you have some really good veterans to have that mix of older and younger, and that just makes it, the blend of that is so much better this time around.
All right. Our next question will be from Stephen Johnson of Daily Memphian.
All right. Penny, the conference released some preseason polls and other honors yesterday right before Memphis Madness. You guys had the most players on the all-conference team, but of course were picked second. Is that something you can kind of use to continue to motivate the team, or is that just something you guys don't really prioritize?
Obviously, everything is motivation. If you're not #1 in something, you want to work hard to get there. And we give the utmost respect and tip our hats to Coach Sampson and the Houston Cougars because they earn that. They've been consistent over the years. They have a culture that's like no other. So being second to those guys lets us know that we haven't made it to where we need to make it to yet. So it's extra motivation for us to be able to get to that level, to keep pushing to get our culture there. And, you know, we're not going to stop trying to be #1. You know, they're a really good team that you're going to have to beat. And we definitely have something to shoot for every year. And that's not any knock on anybody else in our conference. There's a lot of good teams in our conference, but obviously being #2 under Houston gives us extra motivation for sure.
All right. Our next question will be from Tim Daniel with 48 Minutes Basketball.
Hey, Penny, I was just curious, kind of talk about your guys' non-conference schedule this year. You know, obviously with having a team that has a lot of attention, you guys got big games like Western Kentucky, Virginia Tech, a potential matchup with Xavier, Alabama. What was the importance in making a competitive non-conference schedule for you guys this year?
Well, for us, we want to play the tough teams. And the non-conference schedule for me every time is to play as many tough conference teams, NCAA caliber teams in your non-conference so you can get prepared for your conference. But also, when you get to the NCAA tournament, when you get there, you'll have those type of teams to play against. So for me, I've never looked for the cupcake side of the schedule ever. And I never will because you have to play good teams to win it all. And to have that non-conference schedule be as tough as it is definitely pleasing to me because I want to know where we are.
All right. Our next question will be from Terry Davis, Tri-State Defender.
How you doing, Coach?
Hey, what's up, Terry?
Hey, man, I know you just had a pro day last week and the Madness last week. Which one of those two events is more important to your recruitment side and your fan base side?
Well, obviously, you know, the pro day is really, really big for the recruitment side, even though they're coming for our fans, because that's who they meet initially. When they come here, the fans are doing all of the work on social media to try to help us recruit these kids. when they get here and they're welcomed by our city, and then they see the facilities and they see all of that. So to me, the pro day it's like that. It's like icing on the cake, but the cake and the substance of everything is the fans, or are the fans. And I would think that the Memphis Madness is a big deal because the kids understand that's when they're being introduced to the fans. But the pro day is about really why they come here. They come here because they want to go to the NBA. And when you see all these NBA teams being represented in the building, then that means a lot as well.
All right, we'll next go to Jason Munns with the Commercial Appeal.
Hey, Penny, it's hard enough to these days to get players to play defense the way you get them to play defense. So how do you? But I would imagine it's even harder to get young guys to play defense the way you want them to play defense. So how has that been from the perspective of the young guys? Are they, has it been difficult to get them to fall in line, or how's that coming along with the young guys?
Well, to be fair, I mean, those kids have never seen this style defense. So we're being very patient with them, but they're sponges. They pick it up really well. Of course, there's been some difficult days, especially when you have to talk about certain, like our shell defense and where we have to be at all times. They're not used to playing that way. They're used to guarding their man and being out of position, and we're trying to shrink the court by having them in the paint. And it's very foreign to them, but they're picking it up every day. They've made huge leaps and bounds from the first day that they got in here to where they are now. They understand the verbiage. They understand where they need to be. They have some hiccups in transition sometime on communicating and getting to the right spots. But for the initial shell, they're doing better. So I give them a B, which is a high grade before the season starts with young guys.
Quick follow-up. If you had to pick one player not on your team, in the AAC, not on your team, that you might dread having to game plan for the most, who might that be?
I would probably say Kendrick Davis at SMU. He's he's the majority ball handler, and he's really good. And that's a kid that earned a lot of respect. There's a lot of kids in that league that are good, but he's just different because of the way the system that they play, and the ball is in his hands pretty much 99% of the game.
All right, our next question will be from Javon Edmonds of WHIP.
Hey, Penny, you lose Boogie Ellis this year. Earl Timberlake comes in. You retain Landers Nolley. And then you get two of the biggest recruits, of the past decade in Jalen Duren and Imoni Bates. You add Larry Brown and Rasheed Wallace to your coaching staff. How much pressure does that put on the program to not only get to the big dance in March, but actually advance and get somewhere like the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight?
Well, the better players that you get, the pressure comes with those players. They have pressure, we have pressure as coaches, and we have expectations that are higher than anybody else's expectations in the country about us. We know what's at stake at all times, but when you've been in that situation before as a player, which I've been a player in this position, as a coach, it's the same feeling. You relish that, you want that pressure, but you want the better players as well, because no matter what anyone says, you're only gonna win big when you have really good players. And to have the roster that we have now, we have really good players. The pressure's on, we know that, and we're looking forward to the challenges of what it takes to get to the NCAA tournament and then advancing once you get there. But the one thing that I do love about the NCAA tournament is that it's 2 games per weekend. It's not straight games in multiple days. It's just 2 games every weekend, and I think if we get there, then we can handle everything else.
Thanks, Penny.
And our last question will be from Jerry Lee Woodley of the College Sports Report.
Penny, talk about the guys that came back, going through the NIT and winning the trophy, and how that sets up this upcoming season with the new guys and getting into the tournament and going through that experience.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I have to do is just be mindful of this champions are champions, because when you're in college, when I was a player, we made the NCAA tournament every year. If you didn't make the NCAA tournament, you were very disappointed, because that's the ultimate goal, to make it. But the NIT is not a shabby deal. It's really competitive. And for us, as a group that came back, every team that we played in that NIT, was good enough to be an NCAA tournament team, and it was a really good tournament for us because we played various styles, is what you're going to have to play in an NCAA tournament as well, with the teams that we played all the way up to the championship game with Mississippi State and from Colorado State. So all these different teams that we played, it gave us a sense of understanding what we have to do to make it to the tournament and to advance in the tournament. So the kids that came back from that experience, they know that they're champions, first of all, and they know what they want now. They want more. And they came in with a laser focus this year that we didn't have to get on them as much about certain things because they know where we need to go and where we want to go. And we felt like last year we were a tournament team that really underachieved, but we're headed in the right direction after winning the NIT and understanding where we want to be. We know it's not going to be easy, but we know what it feels like now to be champions.
Penny, Chris here in the studio. We talk about the NIT that we did last year, and Landers Nolley was a part of that team. We'll talk to him here in just a minute. How much do you use the guys like him returning as a resource to some of the younger guys like a Jalen and a Monty to kind of show them what you want out of a team, what you want out of your defense?
Yeah, I mean, if you're building a culture, your older guys have to be the guys to relay the messages to the younger guys, and that's what Landers has done, DeAndre has done. Those guys are letting the kids, well, we call them kids, but letting the freshmen know how hard it's really going to be and don't take anything for granted. I think we took a lot of things for granted last year, or at least the team did, and it backfired on us. So they're here with a sense of urgency saying, hey, we cannot do that. We've already gone through that. We're going to tell you all the mistakes that we made so that you guys won't make them. And this is how we have to play, and this is what we have to really pay attention to. And at certain moments of practice, it's time to kind of lock in, especially when the teaching parts happen. So, and this is why those things are so important. When you have your veterans doing that, which we do, then it makes it a lot easier on the coaching staff because you know that they're selling the culture and getting the younger guys to understand what we want and what we believe in.
Coach Hardaway, I know you got Memphis, the city, excited for the start of the season. We're excited to watch you guys tip things off shortly.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Coach. You know, when we saw them last year, there was these bouts of games where they looked fantastic, and then there would be times where you just didn't see that same consistency. What does Penny need to get out of this team to be able to do it every day to get that bid into the tournament?
What's going to be really interesting first to answer that is he made a complete coaching shift halfway through the season. They went from a team that tried to play a more NBA style, and they went 40 minutes of press. There wasn't in the second half of the season. They were a totally different team. You asked Coach Kelvin Sampson what it was like playing against Memphis. He says that was a top 5 team in the country. There wasn't a team in college basketball that wanted to face that Memphis press. But I think Coach Hardaway said it right, and to answer the second part of your question, getting the combination of talent, young freshman talent, lottery picks, with really good veterans. Also, there are some transfers coming in. Chandler Lawson, Earl Timberlake from Miami. These guys played significant minutes at a really high level. Getting all these pieces to play together, I can't wait to see because they might be 10 deep, Brooke.
Yeah, I would agree. And you have superstar NBA talent on your roster right now. And it you know, not that I would like to compare Memphis to Kentucky, but you think about the teams on Kentucky that had 5 NBA starters. I remember the year Anthony Davis took the 4th most shots on the team, and you see what he's doing now. So it's not about how many points these guys score. They know there's a bigger purpose, and that's winning a national championship.
But I want to follow up on that because you continue to get NBA talent at Kentucky. Not all the time when you put them on the court does it pan out to a championship, national championship level team. That's now what Penny has to do. Where's the learning curve for these young guys coming in? He talked about the defense and teaching them a completely different style than they're used to. What is the biggest step for those young guys and Monty and Jalen coming in?
To listen. Yeah. To listen, to implement, you know, exactly what you have Hall of Fame coaches ahead of you. You know, Larry Brown, of course. You know, Rasheed Wallace is an NBA legend, along with, you know, Penny Hardaway on that staff. So ears open, mouth shut, and be intense on getting 1% better every day. And this is going to be a scary Memphis team come March.
Mike, when we talk about defense, I'm curious of, you know, you had to implement it in phases. So they start the season now in a month. In your mind, how much of the installation do you get to by then?
I think because they're so deep, we may see 2 different styles of defense at the start of the season. you might have your starting squad, which is on paper your most talented squad, may not do that 40 minutes of press. Then when you sub and you have Alex Lomax and Tyler Harris, you know how fast those guys are, insanely fast, super athletic. You bring that in to scout against that, to be prepared. Okay, we're going against 2 lottery picks. Then you make substitutions, and now we have to prepare for a 40-minute full court press. That's exhausting. That's maddening to scout against. To me, how he changes defenses depending on lineups is going to be the most interesting thing, and ultimately could be the driving factor to their success this season.
Well, joining us now, Landers Nolley, who played in that NIT championship winning team. Landers, thanks so much for joining us. An infusion of some young talent in that team. How have you had to be a leader so far for this group?
Just coming in and telling the younger guys what we did last year to get success in the NIT, and just telling them to listen to whatever the coaches tell them and learn from our mistakes that they see us making, and don't come in and do the same thing that we do.
So we have some questions from the media members via Zoom. I will let Tom toss the first question your way.
Thanks, Chris. Our first question will come from Teresa Walker at the Associated Press.
Landers, with all these #1 recruiting class and Jalen and Amoni, and you've got a couple guys from Memphis that you're familiar with possibly. How's that chemistry coming as you guys try to build here early in the season, particularly with a tough non-conference schedule to start baptizing these young kids?
The chemistry is coming along day by day. We're just trying to get better and get more familiar with each other. So in that aspect, we just try to come in and play with different guys on a daily basis to become more familiar and comfortable with each other.
All right, our next question will be from Terry Davis at the Tri-State Defender.
How you doing, Landers?
How you doing?
All right, what's the biggest difference between you this year and last year? What did you work on your off season to get better from last year? What's the biggest difference?
I worked on my mental aspect of my game, like not thinking so much and just trusting the work that I put in. I worked on my handles, my defense, getting more laterally quick, and displaying my athleticism.
And a follow-up, what were your impressions of, this was your first Memphis Madness, what were your impressions of Madness? Like, you had a really good time last night.
For sure. That was for sure one of the best experiences I've had. The city turned us up, and now it's our turn.
All right, our next question will come from John Maddox with the Tiger Sports Report.
Hey, Landers.
How you doing?
You kind of really stepped up in the NIT and got better as the season went along. Talk about your mindset when you got to the NIT, and because it almost seemed like a switch kind of flipped for you when you got to postseason.
My mindset, actually, it did switch. At that point, I knew it was for sure win or go home. So I just wanted to do anything to help the team to win a ball game every night.
All right, our next question will be from Jason Munns with the Commercial Appeal.
Hey, Landers.
How you doing?
Good. How are you? I wanted to ask you about Penny's defensive philosophy. Coming in as a newcomer last year, was there any sort of surprise? Did you expect that coming into Memphis that there would be that much of an emphasis on defense for everybody across the board?
For me, yes, because I kind of keep up with college basketball around the country. So when I was at Virginia Tech, hearing about Memphis and then having top defense, so me coming here and being a part of it, I knew it was going to be emphasized a lot because that's what they're accustomed and used to.
So you keeping up with college basketball pretty closely, you say, across the country. What's going to be if there's one thing that's going to keep you guys from reaching your goals, what's it going to be?
Us. I feel like we're our worst enemy. We can only beat ourselves. So if we just get into it with each other or lose focus on the ultimate goal, then that'll be our biggest factor.
Speaking of that, how are the turnovers and free throws? Those were big storylines last year. How's that coming along?
We're working on it every day, just trying to get better and taking shots over turnovers, trying to keep the ball on our side so we can get more possessions for more points and opportunities to score.
Thanks.
All right, our next question will be Jacob Schwartz with Voice Report.
Hey, Landers, congratulations on winning the NIT this past season. And I think everybody's been saying it best. This is about a 10-deep team as possible. And you bring in, like they said, Earl Timberlake and Alex Lomax is back. And obviously the top two players in the country and, Jalen Dern and Amoni Bates. You have Memphis Mania last night. So what really is the buzz going on in Memphis, Tennessee?
I don't know. I think you should tell me. I don't really hear too much. We're just trying to get better here. That's all we're focused on, just trying to get better.
There was, a lot of changes again. And again, also, love the freshman class again, not just with Bates and Duran, but, you also bring in John Camden, Sam Odu, and, John Lawson. But it wasn't just that. It's the coaching staff that makes changes. Hall of Fame coach Larry Brown and Rasheed Wallace is now a part of that, of Coach Hardaway's staff. What brought those two along, and what is your take on those two?
My take on those two, excuse me. My take on those two, Coach Larry and Coach Sheed, they're great guys. They just want us to get better and help us win. It's tough some days listening and just locking in on stuff that we're not used to, but, at the end of the day, that's what we need to be able to win in the end.
I think you're muted, Tom. I'm sorry.
Go to our last question.
So Landers, you kind of have a unique opportunity this year. You're going to be playing your former school, Virginia Tech. You don't see that too often in college basketball, not to mention you're playing them in a big event at the Barclays Center for the preseason NIT. What will that experience be like for you if you had to kind of take a guess of what you'll be feeling that day?
I know for sure I'm going to wake up anxious, maybe a little nervous before tip-off when we actually step on the court and it actually hit me, especially since we're having fans back this year post-COVID. So I think it's going to be a big day, and it's going to be a lot of emotions for sure.
Landers Nolley, thank you so much for taking some time with us. A couple weeks away until you guys tip off the season. Looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.